Good morning and welcome to Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor. In the next half an hour, we'll be looking at the top stories of the day. We'll be looking very closely at the BJP's National Executive that gets underway in Bangalore today. But first up, the headlines. Two-day BJP National Executive gets underway in Bangalore today. Strategy on land bill as well as political and economic reforms to dominate the agenda of the meet. Nearly 300 more Indians evacuated from Yemen by INS Sumitra last night. They will reach Djibouti this afternoon to be flown back to India. Iran and 6 world powers reach a landmark agreement on the future shape of Iran's nuclear program. Iran to cut uranium enrichment capacity in exchange for sanctions relief. And all 4 attackers in the Kenyan University massacre killed. Official student death toll up to 147. Well, the day's top story, all is set for the two-day BJP National Executive to get underway in Bangalore in a short while from now. The focus of the meet is now expected to be reaching out to the farmers on the issue of land bill. Political, economic and foreign policy resolution will also be taken up. Here is more.
The issue of land bill and the BJP's strategy regarding it are likely to be the top focus of the BJP National Executive meet. The party leadership will make a presentation on the issue for all its delegates. In this, it is expected that a point-by-point strategy will be laid out on how to counter the opposition's attack on the issue of the contentious land acquisition bill. The party feels it's a battle of perception and that it must reach out to the farmers and the common man on the issue.
भूमि अधिग्रहण बिल को लेकर जिस पर आरएसएस भी काफी खुश नहीं है आपसे और विपक्षी दल संसद में पारित नहीं होने दे रहा है, क्या इसको लेकर कोई स्ट्रेटजी बनेगी? क्या सरकार को पार्टी कोई हिदायत देगी कि अमेंडमेंट एक्सेप्ट करे ऑपोजिशन का?
देखिए, ये राष्ट्रीय कार्य समिति की बैठक है और इस बैठक में वो सारे विषय जो जनता से जुड़े हुए हैं उस पर हम चर्चा करते ही।
The inaugural speech by Party President Amit Shah will also be focused on the issue. BJP is expected to take on the main opposition party, the Congress, on the matter. The party claims that in a meeting of chief ministers in 2014, all Congress chief ministers had demanded changes in the land acquisition bill. Another issue that the meet will focus on is the expansion of the BJP's base in states where it is weak.
सदस्यता अभियान 1 महीने तक चलने के बाद फिर सत्यापन होगा, फिर संपर्क अभियान होगा, फिर उन कार्यकर्ताओं का प्रशिक्षण होगा और भारतीय जनता पार्टी दुनिया की सबसे बड़ी पार्टी के नाते इस सदस्यता अभियान को और जोर शोर से चलाएगी.
This is the party's first meeting of the National Executive after it came to power in May last year. Apart from the political resolution, a resolution on foreign policy would also be passed. In this resolution, the party is likely to support the Modi government's Make in India campaign. Shyam Sundar's report, Rajya Sabha TV.
All right, let's get a perspective on this story. Mr. C.L. Manoj, who is the assistant political editor with the Economic Times, is now joining us live in the studio. Thank you so much, Mr. Manoj, for joining us this morning. Mr. Manoj, now this is going to be a very crucial national executive meet of the BJP, considering that it is taking place for the first time ever since Prime Minister Modi took over the office. Of course, land bill is going to occupy the centre stage, considering the fact that BJP has been stonewalled really by the opposition in this matter as far as Parliament is concerned, and it is looking to to make sure that the image really of the land bill comes out to be not anti-farmer as it is being made out to be by the opposition.
Well, as you said, that's a very important meeting because it's the first time the executive is meeting after the party came to power. And also in next month, the government will be completing 1 year. Yes. So this is a right time for a government and the party leaders to sit together and review and also look forward.
True.
Land acquisition bill, of course, will be an important issue. If you notice that yesterday the Prime Minister, before he reached the Bangalore, he addressed the Reserve Bank of India, and one of the messages that came very clearly is that he's asking the banks to lend more for the farmers. So obviously the farmers' issue is dominating the mind of the government and the Prime Minister and the BJP. The government has re-promulgated the land acquisition bill as a resolve to push it through in the Rajya Sabha, try and push it through in the Rajya Sabha.
Right.
But then, having said that, you also see that the land acquisition bill is providing a kind of common ground for many opposition parties to come together. And we understand that even within the larger Sangh Parivar, there is the RSS affiliated Kisan organizations and many other organizations. They also have their own skepticism about it. So maybe at this national executive, the government will try and address their concern, try to give their argument in favor of the bill, and maybe even asking the parties to fan out with campaigning on what government thinks this bill is good. But end of the day, it all depends whether the party and the government leadership really think they have the required numbers, they can mobilize the numbers in parliament to get the bill through.
Yes.
But as any time it happens, there is this executive also has to showcase these governments, the BJP's India government's achievements.
So far in the
So
last.
they will outwardly project it as the achievements of the government. They will try to firm up their position on how to go about and project the government's point of view on various things.
Right.
And number two, it happens with any party government that once you are in government, you need to see the aspirations of the party organization. I mean, how they assess the performance of the government.
Right.
So this will be an occasion for them to understand each other. And there are elections coming in Bihar by the end of this year, and the UP election is going to come. But that not necessarily a strategy need not be formed up in such meetings.
But interestingly, this meet is going to take place in Bangalore, and as far as the expansion of the party's base is concerned, that is also going to be in on the minds of the top leadership of the party.
Yeah, BJP has set out a very ambitious target for achieving the growth of the party. In fact, they claim that they have even surpassed the Communist Party of China by having a very aggressive membership drive. So when you are in power, obviously your ambition to grow on the ground will grow and should grow. So we are now witnessing on the one side, BJP is trying to increase as many of his party base. The Congress also started. Then the new technology is coming in handy for both the parties. But another issue we will be very interestingly looking forward, as appeared in most of the media today, whether this executive will mark a departure from the tradition of Mr. L.K. Advani addressing it.
That is what I was coming to.
So maybe, this generation shift may be more institutionalized in this executive meeting if Mr. Advani is not addressing it. And I'm sure that Prime Minister may have something to say about some of his ministers, their tendency to make, very controversial statements.
Exactly.
Because this meeting is happening when Giriraj Singh has again said something which has created a lot of controversy.
True.
So the party will look forward to Mr. Modi, and we will see whether, at the party's top leaders meeting, whether the Prime Minister can show his determination to rein in this kind of elements in the party.
True.
But then Giriraj Singh is an important man for the BJP in Bihar also.
Right. It's very interesting that you mentioned about the fact that as far as tradition is concerned, how, because looking at party veteran Advani, he has been addressing in this national executive for the past 35 years, except on the last occasion when obviously he skipped the meet. So the point is that our sources are telling us that he is going to attend the meet probably, but whether he is going to address us or not, if he doesn't address, then what is the message, the larger message that will be going for the party?
No, I think Mr. Advani is attending, as your correspondent said that. So if Advani used to always address the executive meeting, but in politics also, end of the day, there is a phase where a new set of leadership takes charge, and that process we have seen happening even after the Lok Sabha elections. Mr. Advani, Dr. Murali Manohar Joshi, these people are no more in the parliamentary board of the...
They become the Margdarshaks.
The BJP, they are now, as you said, is a part of a Margdarsh committee. So I think there are occasions, and also there are times in the life of a political party that leaders who may have dominated the party for a very long time, they reach a position, and the party reaches a position where they may have to make way for the new generation, and that kind of reality has to set in before the nation. So I think then Bangalore may be one more, this executive meeting may be further signaling that the new order in the BJP is firmly setting in.
All right. So the new order in the party is going to be set up in this national executive. Thank you so much, Mr. Manoj, for joining us and sharing your perspective on that story with us. Thank you so much. All right, let's move on in the bulletin now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has asked the Reserve Bank to prepare a 20-year roadmap for financial inclusion. He also nudged the banks to be considerate in giving loans to the poor and also while making recoveries from them. He was addressing the 80th anniversary of RBI yesterday. Here is more.
आरबीआई के सभी नीति निर्धारकों को अभिनंदन करता हूं कि उन्होंने फाइनेंशियल इंक्लूजन को अपना विषय के रूप में पसंद किया है और 80 साल के समय इस अवसर को मना रहे हैं। इसका मतलब आप जब 100 साल के होंगे और जब शताब्दी मनाते होंगे, वो शताब्दी इस फाइनेंशियल इंक्लूजन को लेकर के कहां पर पहुंची होगी, मैं समझता हूं उसके टारगेट भी सेट करोगे।
The Prime Minister urging the country's top bank to push for financial inclusion, saying it should not just remain a government program but become an article of faith. He also listed out 4 dates that could be milestones for achieving this, including Mahatma Gandhi's 150th birth anniversary in 2019. The Prime Minister also asked banks to be more considerate towards the poor. He expressed concern over farmers' suicides and said banks need to be more considerate when giving them loans and while making recoveries from them.
80 साल मना रहे हैं आरबीआई के, तब क्या हमारे दिल में आवाज उठ सकती है कि भाई हम हमारी बैंकिंग व्यवस्था के हाथ पर इतने पसारेंगे कि कभी किसान तो कर्ज के कारण कम से कम आत्महत्या करने की नौबत नहीं आएगी? क्या ये सपना हमारा नहीं हो सकता? मैं नहीं मानता हूं इसके कारण कोई बैंक डूब जाएगी।
Talking about the success of the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana and the direct benefit transfer of LPG subsidy, he said both these schemes had shown the potential of the enormous role that the banking sector can play in ensuring financial inclusion.
Our tasks are far from over. The nation has enormous financing needs in infrastructure, and far too many of our banks already have too much exposure. Big corporate infrastructure players have also taken too much debt. The required national push to finance infrastructure should not override financial stability, which is key to national security.
Prime Minister Modi also called upon bankers to extend credit to resource-rich eastern states. He said Eastern India had immense economic potential and the banking sector should recognize and plan for this. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Let's take a look at some other news-making events lined up for the day in the day ahead. Chief Justice of India, Justice H.L. Rathu, will inaugurate the annual conference of Chief Ministers and Chief Justices of High Courts in New Delhi today. Law Minister D.V. Sadanand Gowda will also be there to address the gathering. The focus of the 3-day meet will be to lessen dependency in courts and development of infrastructure and ensuring speedy trials. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address the conference on 5th of April. Foreign Secretary S. Jaishankar will conclude his 2-day visit to Nepal today. On the first day, Jaishankar held bilateral talks with Nepal's Foreign Minister and his Nepalese counterpart. Both sides reviewed the progress made on the agreement signed during Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit in August last year. Jaishankar will today meet President Rambaran Yadav, Prime Minister Sushil Koirala, Unified Communist Party of Nepal Chairman Prachanda and other political leaders. Indian cricketer Suresh Raina will tie the knot with fiancée Priyanka Chaudhary in New Delhi today. Bigwigs from the field of cricket, entertainment and business industry are expected to attend the event. Priyanka and Raina are childhood friends. Priyanka works in the Netherlands. And in the other big story, another batch of some 300 Indian nationals have been evacuated from Yemen last night through the sea route. They are to reach Djibouti this afternoon. The latest development comes hours after 358 Indian evacuees from Yemen landed in Mumbai and Kochi from Djibouti by 2 Air Force planes. Now, officials say that while the sea route has been working out fine for the evacuation Operation Rahat, the government is also making efforts to open the air route to rescue Indian nationals from Sana'a. Now, there are over 2,000 Indians in Sana'a. Minister of State for External Affairs V.K. Singh, who is in Djibouti to oversee the evacuation, met Foreign Minister Mahmoud Yusuf of Djibouti and thanked him for the help extended to India in the evacuation of its nationals. We'll slip into a very short break here. Still to come, no signs of a respite in the ground situation in Yemen. Houthi rebels stormed the palace in Aden last night. That and much more on the other side. Stay tuned.
Malnutrition affects the brain even across generations. We have an integrated brain mapping and brain imaging complex which identified how the various circuits of the human brain work and function. A focus on science is a very important investment for the future.
Watch the best scientific minds come together and unlock the achievements of the scientific personas of the country. Only on Rajya Sabha television.
आजादी के बाद कैसे बदला परिवेश, कैसे बनी संसद, कैसे उठा देश.
When the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom.
कौन थे वो लोग जो दे गए हमको शानदार विरासत, लोकतंत्र की मजबूत इमारत. राज्यसभा टेलीविजन.
Welcome back. You're watching the Breakfast News, and the big international story this morning. Iran and 6 major world powers have reached an outlined agreement on the future shape of Iran's nuclear program. Now, the deal came about after marathon talks in Switzerland that have been stretched well past the deadline as well. Now, under the deal, Iran will reduce its uranium enrichment capacity in exchange for phased sanctions relief. Now, world leaders have called the move a historic understanding. Here is more.
We have taken a decisive step. We have reached solutions on key parameters of a joint comprehensive plan of action. The political determination, the goodwill, and the hard work of all parties made it possible.
A framework deal at last between Iran and the P5+1 countries after marathon talks in Lausanne over the last 8 days through a missed deadline and 2 exhausting nights of negotiations. Under the deal, Iran will reduce its uranium enrichment capacity in exchange for phased sanctions relief. According to a US fact sheet, Iran will reduce its installed centrifuges used to enrich uranium by 2/3 and reduce its stockpile of low-enriched uranium. The centrifuges that are no longer in use will be placed in storage monitored by the International Atomic Energy Agency (IAEA). All of Iran's nuclear facilities will be subject to regular IAEA inspections. Iran will redesign its heavy water reactor in Arak so that it cannot produce weapons-grade plutonium. US and EU sanctions related to Iran's nuclear program will be lifted in phases but can be brought back if Iran does not meet its obligations. The Iranian foreign minister called the deal an innovative, progressive move.
The participants in this process were interested in seeing to it that this resolution gets implemented, that if we reach an agreement, we can implement the agreement. We're not looking for excuses to violate them. We are looking for safeguards to protect our interests if one side decides to violate its obligations.
Russia welcomed the deal as recognition of Iran's unconditional right to a peaceful nuclear program. France said some questions and details still need to be solved. US President Barack Obama claimed the deal was a victory for America and for the cause of world peace.
The United States, together with our allies and partners, has reached a historic understanding with Iran, which, if fully implemented, will prevent it from obtaining a nuclear weapon. As President and Commander-in-Chief, I have no greater responsibility than the security of the American people.
Negotiators will now start drafting the text of the plan guided by the solutions reached. The world powers and Iran now aim to draft a comprehensive nuclear accord by the 30th of June. But for now, its architects are celebrating a hard-won, potentially historic achievement. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
And 147 people, most of them students, are confirmed killed in Thursday's Kenya University attack. Now, Kenyan officials have secured the university college campus with all 4 attackers shot down. Masked gunmen believed to be Al-Shabaab militants stormed the northeastern Garissa University on Thursday, opening fire at the students. The leaders from around the world have condemned the attack.
This is a very sad day for Kenya. The terrorists were able to kill young, good citizen. It is sadly that we lost 147 lives.
A bloody massacre in Kenya's Garissa University campus. In a shooting spree, Al-Qaeda-linked Al-Shabaab militants stormed into the university campus, hurling grenades and firing with automatic rifles, killing students as they were sleeping in their dormitories. 147 people were killed and over 79 injured. They were the same insurgents who carried out the Westgate shopping mall massacre in Nairobi in September 2013.
I managed to hear from them is that we came to kill and finally be killed. That's what they said.
Kenyan forces have now secured the university, killing all 4 militants. A dusk to dawn curfew is on in 4 regions near the Somalia border. The Kenyan leadership assures the situation is now under control.
Percent of the threat has been eliminated. We have been able to confirm that 4 terrorists have been killed.
World leaders condemned the brutal attack. India said international community needs to further strengthen its fight against terrorism. Prime Minister Narendra Modi described it as a horrific and utterly condemnable act. The United Nations too offered condolences.
The Secretary General strongly condemns the terrorist attack this morning on Garissa University College in Kenya, which has left dozens dead and injured, with an unconfirmed number of students held hostage. He conveys his deeply felt condolences to the families of the victims.
Official reports suggest that it was a sectarian attack, as militants let go of Muslim students holding Christians and others hostage. Investigations are underway. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And in Yemen, the ground situation shows no signs of improvement as fighting intensified in the city of Aden, with Houthi rebels storming the presidential palace. The rebels pushed through to the heart of the port city using tanks and armored vehicles. This despite continued airstrikes by Saudi-led coalition. At least 44 people have been killed in the violence, including 18 civilians. Now, Aden was President Hadi's last seat of power before he fled to Saudi Arabia last week as the Shia rebels advanced on the city. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia's first fatality since the campaign against Houthi rebels began was reported on Thursday. Now, these developments threaten an escalation by Saudi Arabia, which has not ruled out a ground invasion.
We don't have troops, formal Saudi troops in Aden. The issue of using ground troops is always something that is on the table, but the decisions will be made depending on the circumstances and the need.
And more news from around the globe in World Wrap. Al-Qaeda terrorists stormed a prison in southeastern Yemen on Thursday and freed more than 300 inmates, including one of their leaders. A senior Al-Qaeda figure, Khalid Batarfi, was among the prisoners who escaped from the jail in Hadramaut province. 2 prison guards and 5 inmates were killed in the clash. The incident happened as Yemen's Houthi fighters and their allies seized a central Aden district, striking a heavy blow against the Saudi-led coalition. Pakistan's new military court sentenced 6 men to death for involvement in terrorism and 1 other to life imprisonment. The army chief confirmed the order. Pakistan established 9 military courts in January after the Peshawar school attack, expanding the military's powers, giving them the authority to try civilians accused of terrorism. At least 16 people have been killed and 40 others injured in suicide bombing in Afghan city of Khost on Thursday. The blast occurred when a suicide bomber blew himself up as he walked alongside a political demonstration. The attack comes just a week after Washington announced it would not be halving the 9,800 US troops that are still in Afghanistan by the end of this year. There was no claim of responsibility for the attack. Jihadists in Egypt's Sinai region have killed 15 soldiers and 2 civilians in attacks on checkpoints on Thursday. The gunmen believed to be the members of Islamic State's Egypt branch simultaneously opened fire with assault rifles and grenade launchers at 5 checkpoints in the rebellious north of the peninsula. In January, suicide car bombers and gunmen killed more than 30 soldiers at a military base in North Sinai. Dubai took on a Mars-like glow on Thursday after a major sandstorm descended upon the city. The National Centre of Meteorology and Seismology warned people to expect more strong winds loaded with sand, severely restricting the visibility. The sandstorm disrupted air traffic at airports in Dubai, with online flight data showing Abu Dhabi was also impacted by the bad weather. And now all the sporting action in Sports Beat. World number 1 Saina Nehwal reached the quarterfinals of the Malaysia Open Super Series with a dominating straight game win over Chinese qualifier Xu Yao. Saina defeated Yao 21-13, 21-9 in a one-sided 30-minute game. She will clash with another Chinese shuttler, Sun Yu, in the quarter-final today. In the men's event, Commonwealth Games champion Parupalli Kashyap and Indonesian Masters winner HS Pranoy bowed out of the men's singles competition. American John Isner knocked out Japanese 4th seed Kei Nishikori to reach the semi-final of the Miami Open. The 12th seed American hit 13 aces and 33 winners during a 6-4, 6-3 victory. In the first women's semi-final, Spain's Carla Suarez Navarro upset German 9th seed Andrea Petkovic 6-3, 6-3. The Moroccan football team has won their appeal against their bans from the 2017 and 2019 Africa Cup of the Nations tournament. The Confederation of African Football had banned Morocco after they did not host the 2015 finals. The African football body claimed that it suffered final losses because of the relegation. Morocco wanted to postpone the tournament because of the outbreak of Ebola in Africa. Well, that's it from me and my team in the Breakfast News. Thanks for watching. Have a great day ahead.